Hello, everybody. I'm Ricardo F. Alvarez. Welcome to our first episode, one of Plus Tax podcast. So today's a very exciting, informational podcast. Today, I would almost try to say it's a type of seminar for those who are business owners, employees, retired, out of the country, U.S. citizens. So we're getting straight to it. What's happening with the IRS? They're getting fired. So there's a lot of great information that we're going to be going over this. What's going to happen when they get fired, when they're getting fired, how many, what's the percentage? I was hearing something about 7% of the workforce, and it's specific part of the workforce that's being fired. So DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is cracking down on a lot of agencies, as you've been seeing on the news. And everybody's wondering, they're getting rid of all these agencies. We're going to be free. No FBI, no, Pentagon. What they're trying to do is, it's efficiency is the last word of the acronym. Efficiency is they're trying to cut the fat. They're trying to save money for for the nation. That means more money in your pocket is their ideal method of this is their force. This is what they're trying to accomplish. But what are the pros and cons on that? What's going to happen? I mean, is this going to be good for us? Do we not pay attention to IRS notices? Do we? Then there's, not to mention the agencies that they are enforcing, which is immigration, ICE, employees, workers. There's so much going on right now in this nation. This is not a political podcast. We're not trying to. Let me tell you who I am. I'm Ricardo Alvarez. I've been a business owner since 1992. That means I haven't worked for somebody to get a W-2. I create my own income. If you even call it income, when I first started, I was barely making it. I'm in the studio here now in San Diego, South Bay, in San Diego, on Palm Avenue. We're in the Tax Neta studio offices. So they are one of our sponsors, and I'm talking to Marco, and I have Alonzo here. They're helping out doing this podcast. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Rick.
Hey. So I've been working for myself since 92, and I haven't had a W-2 that I received from any other employer since that time frame. And I got to tell you, it's been a hell of a ride. I have been, through everything that you can think of in businesses from all different types of agencies. And I can sincerely say I can run for president if I wanted to.
I'd vote for you.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm not a politician. I can say, there's survivalists that drop them off in the middle of a wilderness or a jungle or a desert, and they'll survive. I can't say I can do that, but I can tell you that I can survive in the business world, and everybody has their own jungle. Metaphor. So that's a little bit about me. We'll get more about who I am and what I am. I'm not an Elon Musk. But I can tell you that I've accomplished the dreams. I've exceeded the dreams that when I started off as a business owner. I've exceeded my dreams, and I'm now in new territory myself. I'm trying to see how I can continue with my dream and build new ones with new teams and new people with me, and take them with me. And with the experience that I've had, I wanted to also share this information with the listeners and with my community. So going back to firing the IRS, you're fired, IRS. I love that. That's how people are feeling, right? We wanted to fire the IRS, and even the negative publicity on this, or positive, or just basically publicity. They're talking about, why is this administration firing people in the IRS? That it's tax season, and I'm a tax professional. I've been a tax professional since 1994. I've been doing, business startups and dealing with business owners since then. And I am a IRS resolution specialist also I'm a California taxation specialist, which deals with all types of entities in California, and I'm able to maneuver through all the bureaucratic paperwork that's needed when you're either getting audited or starting a business. The requirements and the business responsibilities that every business owner has when they start a business. So being that said, let's get into it now, Marco. So the pros. What's the pro of having the IRS? What do you think the pro of having the IRS being fired, Marco? What do you think? I mean, I know, not knowing if you know much about the IRS taxation codes or anything, but in your mind, just to blurt out, what would you think? What would be a pro of the IRS being fired?
I think financial independence.
Okay, like no infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
My money, my responsibility.
Okay. Like the Wild West. Like,
yeah.
we're gonna be carrying guns and
Mm-hmm. Gunslingers.
Yeah. Okay.
Clint Eastwood.
Caveman times. I'm a big fan of Conan, Savage Sword of Conan,
Mm-hmm.
King Kroll, and Red Sonja, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm that. So that's like protect your gold,
Yep.
have a big long sword, right? Have a war, one of those deals, right?
Yeah.
So that's what everybody's thinking right now. We're not going to pay taxes no more. And I'm not saying everybody, but it's kind of in your mind, like, ooh, I'm going to wait to see what happens,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait to see if firing the IRS is going to stop this audit that I'm getting right now. I got a letter in audit, or whatever. Or I owe 50 grand, or I owe 5,000, or I owe $500, I'm not going to pay it now. That's the pro thinking, right? That's the pro thinking. What's the reality side of that? So again, in theory, it can possibly help due to statutory regulations, right? Statutory regulations, the law of statutory law in the taxation code, in the IRM, okay? It could possibly help. The longer the IRS delays from responding to you, the time is ticking. And we're going to get back to that, right? The time is ticking. That means they get weakened. The debt gets weaker. And I'm using a term just so we can, our listeners that are not really very savvy of the taxation code, I don't want to start coming out like, well, the taxation code IRM 5.1.10 indicates, I'm not going to talk like that. I'm going to say it just gets weaker.
Yeah.
Okay. So as time, think of it this way. When you owe somebody money and they're like, hey, I'm going to collect on this guy, and there's a hot sheet, right? They need to act on it quick because they want to see who's going to get scared first, who's going to get, and they're going to pay fast because we're going to send them these really scary letters. And then there's people that's been around the block, and they're like, no, it's, I'm going to let them wait. I don't have the money right now. I don't care what they're going to do. I don't have a home. I don't have nothing. What are they going to take? My, $2,000 car that it needs brakes and
Mm-hmm.
I got to push start it. What are they going to take from me? F them. I'm not going to pay them nothing. So in reality, that's kind of the mentality of thinking that's the pro. And actually it is kind of correct. It's called statutes of limitations. They are obligated by the IRM to respond promptly to the taxpayer. And if the taxpayer sends a letter out, say hires I'm a representative, I can represent taxpayers in front of the IRS, right? So if somebody reaches out to my firm and says, can you represent me? I am getting audited, or I got audited, and the end result was we always get this where I represented myself, and I owe 80 grand. We look at the issue, and we're like, no, you didn't. You don't owe 80 grand. You just didn't represent yourself properly because you don't know the codes. You don't know how to explain your position of business. There's so many things that you didn't address because your mind's not thinking that way. You're not trained to think that way, right?
Yep.
So, those are the pros with such limitations. So the IRS has to follow the IRM, okay? And so if for an explanation, if we call the IRS and we send out a letter, and put in mind that the statute of limitations, this is the pro side still, okay? we send a letter out, and the letter says, "Hey, we are contesting this amount. Please respond back to us." We send a letter out to my firm. The IRS responds 60 days later with this is current right now, 30 to 60 days later. We received your letter, but we need 60 to 90 days, more days to respond to your letter. They haven't even got to the letter yet. So what's happening with statutes of limitations? It's ticking, and the statutes of limitations are, there's the C said and the A said. There's a 3-year statute of limitation, and there's a 10-year statute of limitation. After the 3rd year of statute of limitations, you're able to, if you owe $1 million and you qualify for a bankruptcy, because bankruptcy, and if you filed your taxes on time, that's another thing. You have to file your taxes on time. But I can't cram everything, Marco, in one episode.
I don't know. I feel like you could.
I could try, but it gets too confusing because it's just very exciting exciting times right now, because people are, is this going to be good year, bad year, good 4 years, bad 4 years, whatever's happening. But there's a C set and an A set, and there's a 3-year statute of limitation. There's a 10-year. After the 3rd year, if you filed your taxes on time, and I'm not saying correctly, but just filed on time, which is April 15th, and you filed your taxes, after the 3rd year of processed year, full year-end years, ending on April 15th, the 3rd year, you're able to actually file bankruptcy. You can start fresh. If, bankruptcy has its own rules. Every state has its own bankruptcy rules. So there's a means test that's called a means test. I'm not an attorney, but a bit that I know about bankruptcy and how it works when it goes over to the attorney side. There's a means test that they have to do, sort of like a resolution test that we do when we're doing an offer and compromise resolution. So after the 3rd year, you can actually flush all this down the toilet. If you qualify, if you really are in hardship mode and you did lose your business and, health-wise, divorce, whatever shitty stuff happened in your life, you can actually, pun intended, flush down the toilet.
That's funny.
Yeah. So moving along, that's the pros, right? Statutes of limitation is what we're banking on with especially now. So if I was just saying 30 to 60 days, now it's moving. There was this guy that came out on the news. He's a IRS agent that got fired, and the funny thing is, he was in the Department of Government Efficiency. He was in the efficiency department in the IRS, and he's talking about. You can look him up also. I'm going to bring it up right now.
Christopher Napier.
Yeah, he's talking about. Hey, I was in the efficiency department of the IRS. It's funny that DOGE came in and said you're fired. Because I brought it down from like a response time of 2 hours to 15 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? He actually played the role a little bit, just a few minutes of it.
Thousands of IRS workers. The layoffs hit roughly 7% of the agency's 100,000-person workforce this week. Workers like Christopher Napier. This is what he said to our affiliate in Orlando just after finding out the bad news.
So they cited the statute that says that probationary employees can be laid off due to their poor performance. But my performance evaluation says that I fully exceed expectations.
There you go. So let's bring it up to the moment where he is actually at home.
So the IRS is already strapped, Christopher. Can the agency handle this increased workload?
I know there are career civil servants there that do really good jobs, so they may be able to weather the storm. But I know it's going to be hard. Some of their processes take days to pull the data and things, which I was working on.
So... right there. So right there, he's pretty much talking about, and I'll put this up on our video, but he's literally talking. I'm gonna put a soundbite. Literally talking about, they can manage. The IRS will. I'm going into the con now. Okay, pro. Mm-hmm. This is not the con. He's saying, hey, and if you could look at his, he's in a regular home. He's actually was working out of his house. So a lot of these IRS agents were working from home. Yeah. So that's what DOGE is saying. Say, get your butt back to work. All these government officers and agents and government agencies were working. They were rogue. They went native, as they call it. Mm-hmm. When you're in the law enforcement and you're an undercover or whatever, then there's a big thing called you went native. Get them out of the situation and put them back in the office. Mm-hmm. Put them behind the desk. I think that DOGE is actually thinking that all these people after COVID, post COVID now, they're saying, hey, all these agents went native on us, and they're just like at home and not really being efficient. But this gentleman here is saying, hey, I was efficient. I was actually an asset to this department of his department. And he said, well, now I don't know. I'm sure that I have faith that they, the people that are in there now, they're very smart people. They're, coworkers. But you could tell he's a little bit sour about it. But I mean, who isn't sour when they get fired? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's no different. I mean, this guy doesn't look like he's on the Matrix or anything like that. And, Agent Smith or anything, he's just a normal guy, had a good job. And they come in and they take his job away from him. And it's like, wow, what did I do? Now what? He's going to open up a business, and now he's going to be worried about his own taxes now. And that's a whole different ballgame now. But what I'm trying to reference is he's saying 7% of the workforce, thousands of people are going to be fired. It's going to delay response time a lot, double. So post COVID, right now we're getting 355 days of response time for identity theft. And they added another 180 days. So that's literally a year and a half to respond to right now, currently, Marco, to respond to identity theft, which an identity theft can mess with your passport because you don't really owe the money, but they stop your passport.
Oh, wow.
So if you're going to renew your passport, you're going to have to go through a lot of red tape to get that passport hold taken off so you can renew your passport. If you have, listeners, if you have a passport and there's a lot of time on there and you're going through identity theft and the same what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. You're fine. It's when you're going to renew is when you need to worry about it. Okay. So what's the con? You are getting garnished. There's a levy against your bank account. You're getting audited. You want to submit paperwork to the audit. But most likely is the garnishments. You're working your ass off. You get your check, and you see it's like, what is happening? I just have $400 taken out of my account. By the time you get somebody to, answer the phone call, and by the time you hire somebody, there's another paycheck coming, another $400. So that guy gets it. My firm gets it. It's not that we're sitting on our asses and not doing anything. We're trying to communicate with the IRS as well, and we're pros. We send out requests. We send out our POAs, which is 2848 form. We send it out. That means we are able to represent you, speak in your behalf. If it was an audit or something that caused you to have a debt with the IRS, unfiled returns, there's a vast amount of things, which, I want to do a plug, which Tax Neta does help do. And it's a transparency informational report that you get that can guide you through these processes and find the right person to help you do your returns or resolve the issues. But you don't know why in the hell you're getting garnished, or there's a levy, or there's a lien against your home. So this is a lot of this happening right now. So let's say there's a lien against your home. You want to sell your house because you got to move out of town because you lost your job because you're an IRS agent. This guy was an IRS agent. Say now he owed money, and you got to you got to sell your house because you're going to go work at another state, and the state's hiring you for their revenue office, as a state level. So he's like, shoot, I'll take that job, but I got to sell my house, and there's a lien on his house, right? Good luck trying to get that resolved, because who is going to respond quicker now if less agents are able to answer your calls? Let's move this along. How about a refund? I haven't got my refund yet. So refunds are going to take a little bit longer because they still have to do their review of who gets audited, who gets not, who's going to, pass through. Is this earning credit? Is this actually their kid? So there's a review that's happening manually and automatically. There's reviews. There's red flag there's like red flag auto review, and then there's manual auto reviews. You know what I mean? So these are going to take longer because if the efficiency side and different departments are getting targeted, there's a restructuring happening during live time right now during the Super Bowl. During the tax Super Bowl,
The big game.
the big game. So that's going to happen. So it's the frustration side now. And listeners across the nation, do not blame your tax professional. if they're actually doing their job on time, and I'm not saying their mishaps, but if everything was filed and sent off and the frustrations gets on their side because they can't resolve an issue quick enough for you and you paid them, it's not their fault. They're really trying hard to resolve. They're professionals. There's a lot of education I don't remember a time that I don't read an article or have some type of book or something that I'm reading daily on the on taxation or new. I'm learning something every day. Reading something about the IRM, the IRC, which is the Internal Revenue Codes, or the Internal Revenue Manual, or the due diligence side of mine. Like what is our responsibility to the public, to our community? There's a lot behind it when you go to a tax professional. Those that are really taking their practice very serious, like I do. So, don't get upset with them. This is really going to happen right now. It's happening right now. So the excuse currently post-COVID was we are still trying to deal with the COVID situation that we were in for a year and a half. We're really backlogged. So now this happens. It's just, I'm talking about throwing fuel to the fire. It's really going to be very trying for the tax professional. I've seen a lot of people right now, a lot of baby boomers that were in the tax practice right now, are retiring because of this situation. They are. They're like, we had enough. We can't get through. Our customers are going to get pissed off at us. So and we're losing real valuable knowledge. I'm a Generation X, Gen X. So I kind of have both worlds, So I can understand why they're older. They're like, F this. I'm not going to deal with these guys no more. You got these, people, my customers calling, saying it's our fault. It's not. And I want to give information out. And I know I don't, it's very important that I give this information out because I want my community at least to have some type of knowledge of what's happening right now versus listening to social media and stuff, because there's so much fun stuff going on social media right now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's very confusing to see. So although that this is going to be a kind of a Band-Aid, if you look at the pro side of it again, and it's kind of a Band-Aid of the statute of limitations, you really got to start looking into understanding that IRS is not going to go away. It's very important that you understand that the IRS will not go away right now. And if all hell freezes over and the IRS is gone, there's a lot of other things that we're going to have to worry about than paying our IRS bill. The states that you live in, they might be having their own state rules, which right now in California is the craziest beeping rules there are in any state. I think New York, I believe it's New York and California. Yep. And I know Florida is, although there's no state taxes in Florida, but they're very, there's different departments in Florida that do cover, their state regulations and stuff. But what I'm going to compare ourselves to, California is New York. So the old saying is, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Ah, bullshit. If you can make it in California, I feel right now, you can make it anywhere. Because California is so spread out. New York is just, they're talking about the New York City. Mm-hmm. We're talking all of California. Yeah. And it's we get it all the way across, like from Sacramento to San Diego, bro. So it's really not, it's horrible right now. But like I said in the beginning of the podcast, is that our firm are California specialists when it comes to taxation rules and codes and how to maneuver through all these letters that you're getting, like audit letters or debt letters. I know that, wow, it's already 25. I mean, this is just so much to talk about. So remember, if right now you're saying, I'm going to wait, don't wait. Do your taxes, do them on time, do an extension, prepare to pay what you need to pay. It's not going to go away. Liens are going to happen on your assets, in your home, all that. Believe me, it's the response time is to deal with the resolution, But when it comes to automatic liens, because you owe money, it's automatic. There's no wait time on that. It's weird, right? It's conveniently to the house is going to win. Liens against your home, against your assets will be done. Hold on passports is going to happen. Unable to renew your passport is going to happen. Levy on your bank accounts, garnishment on your wages, on your W-2 wages. Even if you're I'm self-employed, I don't care. Well, if they audit you and they're going to request how are you getting paid, and you say I'm a self-employed, they're going to, if they find out, or by you disclosing this because you don't know how to represent yourself, you say, well, one of my biggest customers is XYZ Corporation, and they pay me 1099, so I don't have W-2. So you just gave prudent information for them to call that company up and say, hey, we're going to garnish the wages, not the wages, but the 1099 money you're going to give them, their contract money. Here's a IRS order to say, hold the money, send it over to us. They can also use your state, that if you have state taxes in that state like California does, they're going to say, hey, California, I know he's getting a refund, or hey, what information you have, can you give me that information so we can garnish his wages, levies his accounts, whatever it is. There's communication there that they can do. Yeah. Any questions, Mark? I know you're like looking like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
You're opening my eyes here. I feel like I'm feeling like I'm taking the red pill.
You definitely are, man. After all this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what is it? Let's stick to the ordered. So when you have a debt with the IRS and don't respond, everything and anything can happen to you. The issue here is, if you want to get it resolved because you just procrastinated because you're thinking that the IRS, that Elon Musk is going to get the IRS, put it on a ship and send it to Mars, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to remember that there's this, if we have a few minutes left. If you want to think of it this way, is the government is telling us there's problems. The government is telling us IRS has problems. The government is telling us that the Department of Defense has problems. The government is telling us the Pentagon has problems. The government is telling us that this across the board, they have problems. This is our federal government, our White House. I don't care who's there. We have to take it upon ourselves to manage our life. Don't depend on a $5,000 check that you're hearing on social media. Don't do that. You have to take control of your business, of your personal finances to its moment in current law that is happening right now. Don't get fogged. They want you to miss a step. Don't do that. I can tell you one thing before we close up. During COVID, I worked harder than I've ever worked in my life. I did not sit in the back seat. I did not stay home and just rest and say, oh, I got some free time now. No, I worked harder than I've ever worked in my life because I needed to survive. I'm self-employed. I don't depend on another person or a company to make things happen for me. Matter of fact, I have people that depend on my energy and my effort to succeed. So it's not like it's just for me, it's for my team. So I want you to think the same way. If you're working for somebody, people that either you depend on your job because you got to live, or your family does. And it's very important that you think that way. So also, if you're self-employed, podcasts like these, companies that we use that are going to be sponsoring us, like Tax Neta, which you can get more information on taxneta.com. I'm going to be bringing up other companies that are going to be sponsoring it. Talk to attorneys about your trust, or if you're getting garnished, reach out to our firm or to many firms that are out there. Just get help. Don't procrastinate. Don't pretend it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. So I want everybody out there to listen. That there's just so much information that I can give out. Hope that you stay tuned for more informational podcasts and episodes that we're going to have at Plus Tax here. And you have to remember, Plus Tax podcast this is our first episode, and we'll have a lot of great information that you guys that will be able to utilize throughout these series and episodes. And we will also have an email questions that I'll put up on our website, and also on our YouTube channel, where you can get more information on how to send us an email and a question on regarding to our episode that you just listened to. Okay, I'm Ricardo F. Alvarez, and I am glad to share my knowledge and my information with you. And looking forward to see you through our next episode. Thank you.